Hey, everybody. The computer says I'm live, so I'm going to assume I'm live. It is Friday, May 27th? And before I even go any further, because usually I ask for a mic check and then I don't see the mic check for, an hour. So let's check my mic. Actually, mic looks good. So mic should be good. Hopefully it's good. Anyway, my name's Kevin. I'm CEO here at Coinmetro. This is called an AMA. You ask questions, I answer them. I wore a different type of t-shirt today because last time I was on, somebody said I had man boobs. So we should play a game where every week before we do the show, you have to guess a word I might say, and then you can win some XCM. If we could call it Kevin AMA bingo or some word bingo. I'm pretty sure man boobs probably wouldn't have been on there this week, so no one wins. Right, let's jump right into it. We got a question, so let me answer it. Can XCM be considered a security? And if so, what are the ramifications of this? Well, the word could, I guess it could, potentially by someone somewhere under a rock be considered a security. If you're talking about the people that it really matters if they consider it a security, which would more than likely be the US government, the SEC, I would say no. So I think it clearly passes the Howey test. Though, the Howey test gets a bit murky, where almost anything could potentially not pass the Howey test. But we have a legal opinion way back from 2017 that says XCM isn't a security. And that was before the platform was launched, which is probably one of the things that could have gotten us stuck on the Howey test. Now that the platform's launched, utility only exists on Coinmetro. We don't actively approach other markets to create XCM liquidity pools, etc. I don't think there's any possibility that would be considered security. If it was, ramifications would be that potentially we would be in an XRP situation, or potentially we would have to alter the tokenomics of the token in order to not be considered a security. But again, I don't think we're in that boat, so no need to worry about it. Technically speaking, what are you lacking most in terms of role or people, dev, ops, legal? What can you do to fill those spots and grow faster? Can you retain talented people for extended periods of time? Thanks, Wannabe. I'll take that one from the top. So right now, in terms of probably highest priority to fill roles, we probably have somewhat of a, I think number one on the list is probably going to be in-house development. So that's going to be back-end and to some extent front-end devs, mostly back-end though. We do have about 7 back-end devs, 2 in-house, and I think 5 that work for us, from another entity. But getting those in-house is a priority. We also then probably have our marketing department, which is brand growth and obviously marketing. Growth, for example, we still have to build that team out. We have one person sitting in growth, so that's definitely something that we're working on. A lot of analytics and things like that need to be filled out in that team. Legal, yep, we definitely need more legal support as we grow the company into different regions, whether that be in the Middle East, whether that be in North America, whether that be in other parts of Europe, UK, etc. We are going to need a bigger legal team to be able to support that, especially when it comes to more complex structuring of the business, because whether it be for tax reasons, whether it be for just simply operational reasons, that becomes more and more complex as we have more and more companies. What can we do to fill those spots and grow faster? Well, my first comment, I think I made this comment before. I heard it from a developer once, like 20 years ago, but maybe even more than that now. But I tend to hear this normally from only developers, but it works for any, this can be used to describe, I think, any similar situation. So, 9 women can't have a baby in 1 month. So in many cases, it's not necessarily about how fast we grow the team. In some cases, obviously, if you have no one or just one person, or you're literally missing a very specific role, then it can immediately help you do better. How can we grow fast? We've grown at a pretty fast clip. If you kind of go back in time and think about where we were, never mind a year ago, literally 6 months ago, 8 months ago, in terms of headcount. We're now approaching 80 in terms of total headcount. A year ago, we were at 30 something in terms of headcount. Maybe not even 30, it might have been like high 20s, roughly around 30. And so we've been growing, especially in the last 6 months, very fast. We currently have a people operations team with 3 people. We also work with external headhunting agencies and external recruitment agencies. And I do believe we will do a bit more of that. So fast is one thing. So growing fast isn't easy, but it's probably easier than growing with quality, right? Because we've made mistakes in the past of hiring too quickly, of hiring the wrong person for the wrong role, of hiring the right person, but not necessarily realizing what their strengths were, et cetera. So we've had a lot of, hiring snafus in the past. And that means that we need to be a little bit more diligent in the process. And every time that there's a mistake made, usually, you end up becoming a bit more diligent. And so I'm not so concerned with speed in the sense of hiring the people. I'm more concerned with hiring the right people. But I think we are moving fast. And in fact, we've been building an amazing team. And that's really caught on fire in the last 6 to 8 months. Can you retain talented people? For the most part, I think we can. Yeah, and we have. We did have at some point during our journey here quite a high amount of churn. I think we're up to like 40% worth of churn. And that was when I think the company was really trying to figure out who it was, what it wanted to do, what its goals were. And that kind of confusion from the top down makes it difficult to retain a team. However, I think our churn rate's now like 3 or 4%. So again, night and day. And as I've always said, every year, every day, every month, every week that we progress, we are a different company. Last month, we're a different company than this month. Last year, we're definitely different than we are this year. And we're always kind of getting better. And that's the most important part. Damn, what happened in the background? Oh, yeah, somebody came in and stole all my stuff. I don't know, like last week or something when I was away. No, so we were repurposing some of the lights and the green screen and things like that. Actually, the office will go through a bit of a remodel here in the near future. And that's going to change this space into basically a meeting room plus a workspace. My office will move to the 4.5 floor. And I believe that something that we have on the, I guess you could say the 5th and a half or 6th floor, which we call the cave, don't ask, will become a studio. And that's where all our filming will happen. So some changes will come. So yeah, this is kind of step 0.0001 of that process, I guess. Wasn't there a desk there? There was. It was a desk, a tripod on top, a camera. It's where I used to do the AMAs. Then I realized that people just like this kind of natural stuff rather than the green screen and, all this, the meme wall and whatever I got behind me. So, but like I said, it's also part of a change that's going to happen in the near future. Are you using devs from freelancing sites? Maybe have a percentage of your team as contractors since they are highly capable. You can onboard them fast. Well, I think your last comment, team as contractors, since they are highly capable, not all contractors are highly capable. That's for sure. In fact, in my experience, I would say it's pretty much the same ratio of people just in general life that are highly capable. And that percentage generally isn't all that high. So we use a mix. So we have 2 companies we work with, one that we've been working with for, I think, 3 years now, one that we've just passed our first year with them. And they provide us with devs, both front end and back end, mobile, etc. And they're amazing. They're really good at what they do. We also have internal front end and back end inside of our internal teams. We also, on occasion, do use freelance workers. However, we don't necessarily, and I don't think, especially not in the short term, in the past, we have never. I don't know if we've never used, but I would say at least now in the past 2 years, we haven't used a freelancer for development work. And there's a reason for that. One, security, because obviously we may have something that we want them to work on, but we may have to give them access to certain things we just don't want to give access to a freelancer. And while a lot of our stuff is kind of modular and is kind of segmented, and we've been working a lot over the years to make sure that's the way things work, so that we can potentially take pieces of the ecosystem and kind of give them to a dev with little risk that it could affect something in the rest of the ecosystem. At the end of the day, it's still, I don't think contractors in the sense of freelancers, I don't think is the way to go. However, we do work with contractors. Absolutely. It's the biggest piece of our development team, and it has been for quite some time. Absolutely. What's the good news from Dubai? It took like 6 questions to get here. I'm pretty surprised. So lots of good news from Dubai. Let me take a sip of water. And now that you mentioned the desert, I feel like I got dry mouth. So first good news is it was 42 degrees. And that was nice. That was good news. Because it could have been 52 degrees and not been nice, but it was 42. And that's Celsius, by the way, if you're in the US. The math is actually, so if you take that, multiply it by 1.8 and add 32, you can get the Fahrenheit. So let's do the math. 42, what I usually do is just double it, right? That's 84. Then you take out 16.8 because that's 20% of 84. So 84 minus 16.8, and then you just add 32. Or you could do the easy math and subtract 16.8 from 32 and get 15.2, and then add that back. Anyway, to 84 to get you what, 99.8, or that was what it was, a 0.8. Anyway, my memory fails me. That was a long explanation on temperature. Funny enough, I was filming a bunch of videos today, which is like kind of scripted, and I just realized that I much like doing stuff like this, where I can just kind of say random nonsense and just keep going. That's kind of my thing, I guess. Sometimes it takes a long time in life sometimes to figure out your thing. My thing is saying random nonsense live on videotape. Actually, not videotape. That was a boomer phrase. I apologize for that. Live on YouTube, streaming stuff, digital things. Anyway, so Dubai. Met with lots of people in Dubai and Abu Dhabi. So I had been to Abu Dhabi before, but I hadn't been to the ADGM, and I didn't really have many business meetings in Dubai. I had gone there once to, I think, something called Seoul Beach years ago. And there's one of the islands. There's like 4,000 islands or something in Dubai. Don't quote me on that. I think it's 100 something, but there's a lot of islands, or Abu Dhabi, sorry. And so I met with VARA again, the Virtual Asset Regulatory Authority. We had some red lines that we put onto their MOU, some things that just were kind of a bit contradictory and that we didn't understand and needed a bit of clarification. They clarified. They were very amicable. They were ready to make changes that we wanted to make so we could move forward. So we're in the process of making those changes. We'll sign that MOU and we'll be part of this sandbox that they're putting together. Basically, it's what they feel will be 6 months of when all these participants are going to be onboarding high net worth individuals inside of the UAE. And we're going to apply their rules and see how well it works. They'll get feedback from us. They'll draft the official licensing policy, and then license will be applied for and issued. You've probably seen information in the news about, Binance and a few others getting licensed in Dubai. There's no such thing as a license in Dubai. That's nonsense. There is currently a registration, and that registration is with VARA, Virtual Asset Regulatory Authority. I made my way to Abu Dhabi to speak with the Abu Dhabi Investment Office. I had talked to Salvatore, who's one of the heads of the ADIO. I had talked to him before. I would say it was a lot much more of a personal meeting. We just kind of got to know each other. 2.5 hours talking about art and travel and a bunch of stuff. But setting a relationship there, I think Salvatore is a great guy. I think we're going to work well together in the future. There's definitely a lot of opportunities for us once we establish ourselves either in Abu Dhabi or the UAE in order to get the business off the ground, get it running, potentially even get a grant from the government to do so. So MOU will be in place hopefully next week in Dubai. We will move forward with VARA. I will be going back to the area 2nd to 3rd week of July, I think, at this point, and I will go meet with basically what is something like the ADIO, but in Dubai, not in Abu Dhabi. And on top of that, I will probably sit again with VARA and also go to the ADGM, which is the Abu Dhabi. Jesus, how am I going to figure out what ADGM stands for? It's the Abu Dhabi. Terrible. Anyway, never mind. Abu Dhabi. The ADGM is basically a business center in Abu Dhabi. Global Markets. That's what it stands for. Abu Dhabi Global Markets. So I will go to Abu Dhabi Global Markets and speak with their version, their regulator, to see as well if there's any opportunity for us there. Also spoke as well to a family office who's looking to open some accounts on Coinmetro and potentially maybe some investment as well in the near future. Plus, I also had about 15 other meetings that all are in relation to Coinmetro. Lots of very interesting things there, but not enough really to get crunchy yet. So we'll hold that for the next couple of weeks to talk about. Hey, Kevin, hope things are well. Hey, Mr. A, nice to meet you. Do you expect the market as a whole to rally along with stocks coming to the midterm elections in November? Well, so U.S. midterm elections. Well, for those that don't live in politics is politics, right? So generally what happens is one party gets elected, then everybody hates that party. Then midterms come, they elect the other party in the midterms to try and bounce the power. And then they elect somebody else the next year and they hate them and, whatever. That's just kind of a cycle that just keeps on going. So I do expect, Q4 for crypto, well, maybe not entirely the crypto markets, but for Bitcoin specifically, Q4 has been bullish in basically every year since Bitcoin came onto the scene, except for one. And I think that was either 2012 or 13. One of those years wasn't bullish, meaning that we started Q4 on a higher note than we ended. I do expect we'll probably see a bullish Q4, bullish doesn't mean all-time highs, everybody. It just means that I expect to see some form of a range between now between a month ago and the end of the year. However, I think into Q4, going out of Q4, we're going to see hopefully a tide change. And you can tie that in a bit to midterm elections. I mean, the election cycle in the US obviously means a lot for the US. Well, maybe it doesn't in reality, but it is more impactful probably to US markets. But as we know, equities are still coupled together with pretty much the entirety of the crypto market. So if the elections in November show a clear majority, whether that be Democrat or Republican, you would expect a reaction in the market. And a majority Republican could potentially be good for equities. And if it's good for equities, then it potentially will be good for crypto. So yeah, you can tie it into the midterms. I would tie it more into just Q4 in general. Historically speaking, has been good for crypto. I also think that the market needs some time to figure out what it wants to do. Typically speaking, when you have a crisis situation around the world, people go and buy dollars. They used to buy yen, they used to buy Swiss francs. Dollars, though, have always been something that people go to in times of crisis. The problem is if you go to dollars right now, you get a shitty interest rate and basically inflation eats your money. So what's the alternative? Gold? Well, gold hasn't really performed all that well either, comparatively speaking to inflation. So normally that would be it. You might go to bonds, but bonds aren't performing well. You might go to corporate bonds, but the risk there just gets bigger and bigger with inflation growing. So what do? Well, we never really had crypto before in one of these kind of global macro situations that we find ourselves in now. Crypto is an option, and it's an option that more and more people are going to. So I think while there's fear in the market because it's coupled with equities, bonds, et cetera, the global markets are kind of coupled together with crypto. I should say crypto is coupled together with them. I do think it's going to take a few months for people to realize and kind of get that click inside their head. And then I think Q4, we're going to start to see a bit of a turnaround. Now, that doesn't mean we might not see lower prices in Q1, Q2, Q3 next year. I'm not going to predict what's going to happen in 2023 entirely. But I do think we're going to see a difference between Q3 and Q4. And Q4, generally, I have high hopes for. Hi, Kev. Any news on marketing? So I think you're going to be able to answer that question yourself, Jet Fuel, literally within the next 4 or 5 days. So we have several promotions that are all going to hit at once, both paid and unpaid, internal, external, all kinds of stuff. You're going to hear about the first one just in a few days, and you should start hearing about more and more. I've been having more and more meetings with marketing and growth and brand, et cetera, and things are coming. Some things have been in the works for a while. Other things are relatively new. Also have had discussions about reactionary marketing versus planned marketing versus all kinds of different things. The team is growing. We got new, really cool people on the team as well to help, push our ideas forward and make sure, everybody knows about Coinmetroids. So all grandmas around the world will own some XCM. Now, that's really the end goal. I want every grandmother to own XCM. Unless, I don't know, she's like blind and deaf, and then it might be really difficult. I don't know if our UX can support blind and deaf grandmas, but at least if your grandma can hear and see, I think she should own some XCM. I mean, she should own some XCM. She can't hear and see either, but I don't know if that's going to be possible. We'll try. Maybe that's a 2023 goal. We'll give that one a win. Do you think Cardano scalability is enough to compensate for missing out on the first mover advantage, enjoyed by Cardano, Solana? Well, Cardano and Solana have no first mover advantage, right? That's ETH. ETH has the first mover advantage. Now, if you're talking specifically about like ETH competitors, I don't necessarily think of Cardano as an ETH competitor. I just think of it as an option. And I think that it serves different markets differently, and it's not necessarily competing with ETH. I think it creates its own market share. I would also say that it's still more decentralized than, Solana for sure. Solana is centralized. I think it will run into major issues with a lot of use cases because of that. I'm not a big fan of Solana personally. That doesn't mean that, if you have Solana, you should sell it. What it means is that I don't like it. So it's not in my portfolio. It's not in my portfolio. Obviously, running a centralized exchange, I'm not saying that all centralization is shit, because obviously Coinmetro is amazing. What I'm saying is that for certain use cases, especially those that I think are the most sexy use cases when it comes to protocols and blockchains, centralization sucks and actually takes away the vast majority of the benefits that decentralization provides to the whole equation. When it comes to Cardano, also not a big fan, not really bullish on Cardano. Not bullish on Cardano. They have an amazing community. I talk a lot about community. I think we have an amazing community. They also have an amazing community. they've been able to create a community that will support them no matter what they do, even if they do nothing. And that is amazing. I mean, whether they did that on purpose, whether it just kind of happened, however it happened, hats off to them for that community. And that community has supported them and supported Price for quite some time, even though deliverables have been, well, kind of few and far in between. So I think, I talked about protocol wars in the past. I've talked about that a few times. We're going to get to a point, and we're probably there already in some shape or form, where we will have a protocol war. Just like depending on how old you are, you've seen maybe protocol wars and or kind of base technology wars, right? So that means like, you could say maybe Windows and iOS or OS on Mac OS, right? Or whatever. You could compare beta versus VHS. You can compare DVD versus, or HD DVD versus, what was the other one? There was another one at some point, Super DVD or something like that. Or actually even, there was DVD and then there was something else, HD, something. Anyway, I don't even remember what it was at this point. But point is that there's always, even with databases, the key about databases is, though, that while there were, SQL databases and different types of databases, in many ways, we never got a true standard. And so we are going to see protocol wars for different protocols, for different niche businesses, for different industries, etc. And we're going to see who's going to win. And I don't really think you're going to have one protocol that services 55,000 different industries and everybody uses it. It's not going to happen. Ether has a massive advantage in that massive amounts of money were spent to build in that protocol already. And think about it like this. If you're a bank and you have to move, let's say even 20 years from now, forget about today. You're a bank, you're doing a bond offering, you want to tokenize it. And it's 200 million, a billion, 20 billion, whatever big number you can imagine in your head. And you need to move it safely, securely, and relatively fast between 2 points. And you have an option of, at this point, 20 years down the line, Ethereum, which is expensive. Gas is going to cost you 10K to move that transaction. But you have 24 years, 25 years worth of experience on that protocol, and it works. It's not going to get lost. It's going to get there. And you spent already 200 million building into that protocol, and so did the other 12 banks on the network. And then you have this newcomer who's only been there 5 years, 2 years, 1 year, 6 months, so much cheaper. And, you haven't really built to that protocol. You don't really have enough anecdotal evidence about how it works. Which one are you going to choose? You can decide in your own head, but I'll tell you what, they're going to take Ether. They're going to take the Ethereum protocol. So I think at the end of the day, what we will see is that some of the titans like Ethereum we have now, people that may want security and safety and kind of reassurance and don't care about cost, may stay at Ethereum. Now that's saying that they don't reduce the gas fees, which they very well may, with ETH 2.0, 3.0, 6.5, whatever. So anyway, protocol wars. So I don't think Cardano or Solana will win many of those protocol wars, to be quite honest. Ethereum, I don't think is going anywhere. I think Cadena has a chance to win some of those protocol wars with specific applications, and scalability and cheapness is definitely something that retail doesn't really know what scalability is, but if they can do something, it's fast and you need scalability for that and it's cheap, then that might be something they choose. And, if it's embedded into a lot of financial applications, well, then they're going to use it without knowing they're using it. And that's the trick to retail. That was a long answer. So I apologize for that. Hey, Kevin, nice to see you. Well, nice to see you, gents. Thank you. Hey, Kevin, what do you think about the new Flux partnership with Lumen? I haven't, to be honest, really read up on that, so I can't really give you a comment. But I mean, yeah, I don't know. I have no idea. I'll have to comment on that one next week, or just hit me up on Telegram. I'll comment on it there. Shoot me a link. Can you elaborate on the edge for Coinmetro to support Dubai on the regulatory side when final regulation will be the same for all anyway? This is a good question, actually. Thanks, Jen. So I don't think in any way, shape, or form there is really a way to use regulation so much as a commercial advantage. There may be short time windows where there's some type of commercial advantage, but generally speaking, when regulation is new, when you're the guys supporting it, Coinmetro back in 2017 and 18, nobody else wants to, and all retail says that it's stupid because they have to do more stuff to open an account. The real advantage, I think, in regulatory is the long-term aspect. The long-term aspect comes from if you're compliant, you remain compliant, and you have a relationship with regulators. When new rules come down the pipe, you're not going to be the first one they harass. You're not going to be the one that they look to see how you're breaking the rule. They're going to look to you for leadership to get everyone else to actually fall in line, and they're going to ask you your opinion before they push new regulation out. That's the edge. Now, the edge specifically with this. So I think, Northern Africa, Middle East is going to be a big market. I think Dubai is kind of like the new world Switzerland. They are neutral. I can't really say Switzerland is neutral anymore. Now, you might agree or disagree with neutrality in terms of just like the way a sovereign government operates, but they seem to be becoming the new neutral point in the world. That, I think, has a lot of advantages. Two, understanding how our competitors relate with, deal with, and talk to the regulator, I think is a major advantage. It's a major disadvantage to come into a regulated environment without being through that process first. Imagine, and this has happened already, and it's happening as we speak, when the U.S. regulators want to change something or do something, who do they call on? Who's always in those meetings? Coinbase? Gemini, maybe? That's about it. So two companies who potentially have very similar goals, or maybe not, get to dictate the way that the regulator views, regulates, to a certain extent, polices everyone else's business. That's fucking insanity. And the only way to break that is to get involved. So while they all have the similar edge, just because they have it doesn't mean they utilize it, right? It's like there's a lot of people out there that are, I don't know, really good at playing a sport, but they end up becoming a mechanic because they don't utilize, their given talents. There's a lot of people out there that are great artists that end up working at the phone company. Just because you're exposed to this edge and you possess it doesn't mean you use it. You don't utilize it. So while those companies may have the same edge, if we're outside of that little bubble, we definitely don't have that edge. And then we're at the mercy of how those 39 companies are viewed and what they say and how they interact with the regulator. So that's the point. That is the point at the end of the day. Also, any genuine use cases you can think of for Cardano? A unique use case that I think they're better suited for than any other protocol? No. Again, I'm not trying to say that in a negative light, because you may see Cardano on the Coinmetroids platform at some point. But this is just me personally, Kevin Murcko, not Kevin Murcko, CEO of Coinmetroids. Just me personally. No, I can't. Doesn't mean one doesn't exist, though. I can't say that I'm like the brightest mind on Cardano either. I don't read everything they put out, that's for sure. Kevin, are you still bullish on KDA? A friend is thinking of DCAing into it since the price looks interesting now. Is the centralized bridge for KDA staking still in the pipeline? I'm still bullish on KDA personally. I think the whole cadets thing, the potential connections that may exist, the way that was handled, a little bit of the PR that probably should have been handled a bit differently. Maybe some outward communication issues here and there, which Coinmetroids had itself. So, definitely I'm not throwing rocks inside a glass house. But I do think that I still am, I don't think that I'm bullish. I think that given all of that, there's still reason for me personally to be bullish on KDA. I still own KDA. I haven't sold any KDA. I did buy a bit more at recent low. And I continue to support them. I think that the protocol itself, the people behind it, and where they want to head aligns perfectly with kind of what I need in my portfolio. So the centralized bridge, right now we put some of those things on hold. We're really just waiting to have a more in-depth discussion with the teams. And unfortunately, we haven't been able to do that yet. Once we're able to do that, depending on what that discussion, alludes to, I do believe it'll be back on track. Do you still hold some Quant? No, actually, I sold my Quant. I had like 7,000 Quant. I sold it way before the pop. I think I sold it at like $30 each. So that was like the first pop. I got out. And to be honest, the crypto. So if I have two sides to my brain, I have the rational Kevin, I'm over 40 years old and I've done stuff in my life brain. And then I have the crypto side of my brain. The crypto side of my brain probably would have kept the quant. But I'm Kevin Murcko, I'm over 40 and I do stuff because it makes sense. Side of my brain said sell now. And for me, that sound, we need some soundproofing for sure. Plus I speak really loud. So that's and if I spoke soft, I don't know. Anyway, we need soundproofing. If anybody knows how to soundproof shit, please come to the office with a hammer, a nail, and some soundproofing stuff. Maybe more than one nail. We probably need like 3 nails at a minimum. Wow. How did I get to this question? Oh yeah, quant. So yeah, I don't own any quant. It just boggles my mind a bit, an interoperability layer using an Ethereum-based token. That Ethereum-based token is used to buy into the software that's generally used for this interoperability layer. But there's a bit of opaqueness behind exactly why that's even necessary. The old, why do you need a token? And then, is the Bank of England going to go buy a token to, or are you buying it from Treasury after they pay you money? But then how does that look like in terms of just general accounting standard practices? And I don't know, there's just too many questions for me that are never really answered. And so for me, I was out. But yeah, if the crypto side of me would have kept it, probably maybe not till now, but how a trustless system can still give value to Luna. How a trustless system can, well, he's saying like everybody lost trust in Luna, so how could it have any value? Well, it's a good question. I can't answer that question. What I would say is Dogecoin. So it's a bit different in some ways, but in some ways it's not. People like to buy cheap stuff because they don't understand that if something cheap goes up 100% or something really expensive goes up 100%, no matter how much they buy, they still make 100% of their money. And so that cheap factor, all those zeros after the decimal point, might make people buy it for no other reason that they can buy 1 million of them for, €100 or whatever. And you don't need trust when you have stupidity. When do you expect to release an announcement for the recent funding round, or can you spill it here? Announcement probably going to come sometime in June, probably later half of June, I would imagine, because we still got a few ribbons to tie up there. Hey, Kevin, I think it would be a good idea to have the option to receive push notifications when a buy seller is made. So do I. I'm pretty sure that's in the pipeline, actually. Notifications of buying and selling. I mean, if you're market buying and selling, that's one thing. If you put a limit order in and it gets filled, it'd be nice to get a push notification. 100% agree. Good morning, Kevin. Any Cardano updates? Not today. Nope. Still trying to get on a call with a couple different teams. Might actually happen today. We're supposed to have a Friday call, but the last couple of Fridays, at least one of us hasn't been there, so we haven't had the call. Tram 2.0. We've been getting lots of CSS updates lately, but would be cool. We do a lot more than just CSS at Coinmetro, but those things you can see. So imagine that you're seeing the tip of the iceberg. Tram 2.0 is in movement. It's moving in the right direction. You're going to see it. And there's vastly more updates than just what you see in CSS. I can guarantee you that. When will UST be removed from CM staking? And question number 1. Question 2, would it be possible to get notifications when staking is finished? I've been put to lower tier because I didn't notice my XCM staking finished. And 3, DNA staking. So I'll start with number 3, DNA staking. Haven't yet talked to their CEO. Obviously, I was about to, and then the whole UST thing. So haven't. And I've been, to be honest, been traveling quite frequently. So trying to figure out when is a good time to get in touch with David. I will attempt to do that. I really have to look at the parameters of their staking to see really, what we want to bring maximum value to our clients. Now, obviously, we have clients that own DNA. We even own some DNA. But it's still, you have to understand that, and I don't say this in any disparaging way, but DNA token is still obviously not the most supported token around the globe. It's almost impossible for us to get liquidity on it. And so that doesn't mean that we don't support other things they do, but it means that in terms of priority, us supporting DNA would be kind of like, us supporting the Kevin Forehead token. But, not many people own. I mean, they should. The Kevin Forehead token is amazing, and you should own like 1 billion of them. And if you don't own 1 billion, I just don't know what to say to you. Would it be possible to get notifications when staking is finished? I think that's something that can definitely, it's possible, absolutely. your staking plan's done. Here's an email. I don't see why that wouldn't be possible. What I would say is that obviously those notifications, once we have a probably more, I guess, scalable notifications. Not scalable is the wrong word. But right now, obviously, we have push notifications sitting on mobile. We have, I think, a different system that actually runs notifications on the web. So yeah, anyway, notifications are a good thing, and we're working on adding more notifications. People like to be notified about stuff. Makes sense. When will USD be removed from CM staking? We've been talking about that recently. Obviously, there's still people that, haven't removed their USD from staking. So it continues to sit there. Obviously, once this Luna Classic, Luna 2, Luna, we're coming to get you again, whatever network gets rolled out, I would imagine by then UST is off of stake. Bin Chicken asks, when C? No idea what that means. Maybe that's the C in the Luna, Luna C, Luna Classic, and yeah. Well, we actually got an answer on Twitter finally, which was, oh yeah, you can support the Luna airdrop by doing these 7,000 different things. Thanks for cleaning up our mess for us. So I don't really have any internal information yet on whether or not we're going to support those 7,000 different things we have to do, but we hopefully will have an answer to everybody on that shortly. We'll see them implement crypto loans like Coin Loan and use that as a basis for staking and Mars programs for all coins listed on CM. There is a goal to have loans or something similar on the Coinmetro platform at some point. The main one, I think, would be for XCM to support XCM staking. It's a bit unclear to me how they would directly support Mars, at least for assets that are already stakeable. If you're talking about assets that have no staking program, ability to actually earn money on those assets so that we can actually pay some form of like a staking program. We've talked about this in the past. We've been looking at protocols that will allow us to quickly build out the amount of staking plans we have, because we can create either liquidity pools or loan pools on another platform or another protocol utilizing assets that don't have their own native staking protocol. And Vesper was a test to see if we could do it through their protocol. Up to this point, we haven't launched anything additional on Vesper, but there are other protocols that do similar things. We even have something like IQ protocol, for example, that does similar things. Not the same as Vesper, but definitely similar in the sense that you can take assets and create pools and thus create income from those pools, even though that underlying asset doesn't have staking built into their protocol. So I guess the answer to this question is kind of yes, but right now I can't tell you that it's cemented into our roadmap, but it is something that we've been talking about literally since the beginning, and more recently about adding more additional assets to staking and figuring out how we can do that in a streamlined way. I'd still like to voice your media. Oh, Colette. I think I remember the CV, Colette. I'll have to ping people operations and see what's going on there, because not my thing really. But I'll find out. Did you resume your collaboration with cadets? No, we have not at this point. Still haven't been able to talk to them really. So waiting on to have a chat. I'm going to take maybe one or two more questions. I'm already 15 minutes over I think I'm going to keep this to 30 minutes, which I never do, time schedule. Have you considered adding micronutrient dense foods like egg yolks and liver to your otherwise vegan diet? Wow, this came out of nowhere. I guess if I started eating liver, especially, I do eat eggs when I travel. So I'm already eating egg yolks, not at home, but when I travel, and I travel quite frequently. I think if I added liver to my otherwise vegan diet, that would pretty much destroy that vegan diet. I do eat some nutrient dense foods though, like superfoods. But in terms of, animal proteins, no, I haven't considered it. I'm not saying that, look, the vegan diet is not the most healthy diet. In fact, you can be fat, just overweight, a mess, and be a vegan, right? So, but whatever. I mean, I kind of picked it and ran with it. I'm going to do this, and then I did it, and I'm still doing it. So, what's the next CM product coming out? I don't know, but it's going to be awesome. It's going to be awesome. That's a terrible answer, but I've had a long day, and I'm 16 minutes over, so that's the kind of shitty answer I give at 16 minutes over 30 minutes. I could rack my brain and really think about it. We got a few things coming out, actually. Some are derivatives of stuff we already do. There's at least one or two new things in there, for sure. But I'd rather say just that it's going to be awesome because all our products are awesome. You all know that. Come on. I don't have to tell you that. All right, last question. Could PRQ be considered a security in that case since it's actively trying to get listed on different exchanges, incentivize liquidity providers on Uniswap? Not necessarily. So that is a potential hook, but no, there's nothing that says you can't get your asset listed on the market. But when you proactively attempt to sell the asset as if it were a security, it changes the game a bit. So no, that alone would not make PRQ a security. Incentivizing liquidity providers on Uniswap, it's decentralized. Whatever they do to incentivize, as long as that person's given a reward based on what they're doing and not what other people are doing, also wouldn't necessarily consider it a security. Okay, guys, I'm going to leave it there. Have a great weekend. Spend time with friends and family. If you can't do it physically, do it virtually. You probably can do it physically now. I don't know. We got like monkeypox. Yeah. The new COVID is monkeypox. So, yeah, if you have monkeypox, sorry. Yeah. So if grandma has monkeypox, then, make sure you do it virtually. Let's not, I really don't want to have to wear a mask again. So if grandma's got monkeypox, stay home for fuck's sake. So I don't have to wear a mask. Yeah, but anyway, even if she has monkeypox, make sure she buys some XCM because maybe that'll cure monkeypox. I mean, I don't really know what'll cure monkeypox, but I'm going to, we'll make an assumption here. Why not? I'm just going to throw it out there. XCM cures monkeypox. I wonder if monkeypox will sue us now. Is there a monkeypox organization? There probably is. Anyway, guys, have a great weekend. Don't look at prices, or maybe look at prices this weekend. Maybe you'll get surprised. I probably wouldn't, though. It's the weekend. Try not to look at prices. See you guys here next week. You can tag me in Telegram at Kevin Murcko. You can tweet me on Twitter at Kevin Murcko. If you tweet me or tag me or message me, I'll try to get back to you. I'm usually pretty good about that. If I missed your question or if I just really gave you a terrible answer, which happened twice today, I think, which is, I think, a record, go ahead and tag me on Telegram with the same question. And I'll come back to it over the weekend. So thanks, guys. See you next week. Onwards and upwards. Thanks for all the support as usual. And if you didn't notice, I was wearing makeup today. I'll tell you why next week.